No, not 3PO. R2, 3PO, bitch ass right in the back.
Welcome back, Red Spotters. I'm Alexis. This is Peter. Kyle's back there. This is Afterdark. We just watched a Star War.
A Star War.
We watched a Star War.
The end of a war, Star War.
Right. The Rise of Skywalker, which is the end of the new era of the new trilogy of Star Wars, and also
Skywalker saga.
The end of the Skywalker saga. We just saw it, and we're gonna give you our reactions to it, and I'm not even going to be cognizant of it, so just be aware at some point spoilers will be mentioned.
You know what? Let's just fuck spoilers.
That's why I'm saying, like, right now
spoilers will happen within this.
So I'm not going to be keeping up with it. So
yeah,
just be aware. Watch this, but at some point spoilers will happen.
If you're watching this, you probably already saw the film, or you probably already don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Where do we even start with a review like this?
Let's start at the beginning.
Which is what?
Last Jedi. Ripping my shirt. That movie came out. We all loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone that watches all three people just clicked away after I said that. JJ was brought back. I loved The Last Jedi so much. I became very scared.
JJ was brought back before we even saw it.
Yes.
So we were scared before we saw Last Jedi, to be clear.
Yes.
All three of us were kind of a little bit worried.
Because JJ can't do endings. He's not the best writer.
And he says that himself.
He says it himself. So I have I'm very weak person.
Yeah.
I looked at every single leak that ever came out of this film.
But that was after the Palpatine reveal in the first trailer.
That was after the Palpatine reveal, because that just killed my hope for this film.
Back in April, guys, so it's not really a spoiler.
Yeah, that happened a long time ago. So then I watched every single leak. And then I know these guys felt the same way, so I fucked with their heads, and then I revealed all the leaks to them as well. And I came in...
I mean, I had a choice.
You had a choice.
I had a choice, and I said yes.
You did have a choice. You said yes. He had no choice.
No,
he did have a choice. I'd ask him if he wanted to see this stuff, and then I'd send it to him. But on paper, I hated absolutely every decision that the film did. It felt like a fuck you to The Last Jedi.
Especially the character stuff.
Especially the character stuff. Like, the specific story points sounded so terrible to me. And then the reviews dropped, and they were the fucking worst since The Phantom Menace.
Holy shit, were they bad. They were savage, they were vicious.
Yes.
And you're right, I told you when we were discussing these leaks in some podcasts weeks and weeks ago that it read like bad fanfic. Can we all agree on that it read like bad fan fiction? And some of the reviews have said so.
So, walking into this film, like, I felt like I was walking into a funeral. Like, I really did.
The opening crawl happened, the fanfare was going, and Peter whispered in my ear, I feel like I'm at a funeral.
Because I knew I was going to
What did I tell you? You might as well just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the movie happened, and I gotta say, I think that was the best thing I could have done. Because while I don't necessarily like the film, I think it's a bad film. I think it's a terrible follow-up to The Last Jedi, a terrible closer to everything. I had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed my time watching it. I never reached a point of hate. And
Which is saying something, because I feel that when we read the plot line, I felt hate.
Yes.
But watching it, I didn't feel hate.
I didn't feel it. And there's so much bad in this film. It really does read like it's a fan fiction film. Like,
it doesn't just read it; it feels that way. And when you're seeing it, yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like I had fun with it.
Yeah.
And like, this is a film I might even revisit more than like The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens is definitely a better film. But this film, it's constantly moving. Again,
I mean, boy, does it fucking move.
It does not stop.
Oh my god.
But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot of funny parts. There's a lot of fun action.
There's cool characters.
There's cool characters.
A lot of laughs.
A lot of laughs.
Either if they're intentional or not, there are a lot of laughs.
I didn't hate my experience with this one.
No, me neither.
And that's a win.
I had a good time, actually.
I had a good time. That's a win.
That's a miracle. I wasn't expecting to have a good time.
Not a good film, but it's like, I'm not.
And we'll get into why it's not. I mean, there's issues.
But I'm not one of these like Star Wars purists who's like, this needs to be the greatest film ever made. It's like, if I have a good time, like okay. Like, again, to me, like, when I think of the films, I think of the original trilogy and The Last Jedi. Those are the great films to me. But the rest, even if I don't even like them as films, I can still have fun with them and enjoy it. Like,
just this week I was revisiting the prequels just because. And it had been a long time. They're terrible movies. But I still find enjoyment in them somewhere, you know?
Yeah, that's still fun stuff.
I mean, this is not, I think, prequel bad. There's some questionable stuff in here. To me, it's... Those are general impressions. But I think it's important to say this. All of us here love The Last Jedi. Overall, love to like The Force Awakens. This film is definitely lower than those two because of several issues we'll get into. But I think the important thing is this. We knew going into this movie we weren't going to like it because of the reasons that we knew were going to happen. But I think it's important how we compose ourselves. And I think I whispered to you as the film was about to begin, I really hope they like it. Yeah,
I like, because we had a big audience, and more than anything, I think the reason why it was going to me, feel like a funeral, it's like, oh man, like, my fear was that no one else in the audience would like it. And it's like, I really want people to like films.
Yeah.
Like, this obsession with some Star Wars fans where it's like, I hate it, I want it to fail, and it's like, why do you want things to fail? Why do you want people unhappy?
Especially if you say you love Star Wars, how would you want it to perform so badly? I just wanted, look, if I can't like this movie because I know that of my own reasons, I hope someone can like the movie.
I hope it brings happiness to other people.
Yes.
And the audience, there was there's some stuff that happened at the end that I don't know if people loved it or they were fighting with it, and we'll get into that. But they seem to really enjoy it. It's definitely a crowd pleaser film.
As most Star Wars are.
Yeah.
So it succeeds. I think it highly succeeds on entertainment value. And also, if you've seen all of them, you're going to see this one. And you'll like it or you won't. And I think, the best we can say is that, for me, so much of what happens in this movie completely undermines and ignores, to me, what the best modern Star Wars film exemplified. And I feel that the film aggressively suffers because of it, and because who creatively is in charge of this movie. That's just a reality. I think most of us can agree on those levels. And we'll break them down. But at the end of the day, I probably will, maybe, get a little bit on JJ's case, but at the end of the day, this is exactly the kind of movie that JJ would make. And really to a T. To a T, and yes, to a fault.
But again, I'm not someone that's so, like, driven, like a madman to, like, lore and, like, I don't even care if, like, sequels and films connect. I just want to know, is this film good? Is this film... And, like, I can completely detach this from The Last Jedi and be like, let me pop this on. I'll have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, which is... And you can do that with the other
I feel like most people can't do that with Star Wars, though. I think Star Wars makes people go crazy.
Yeah, and The Last Jedi caused a lot of people to go apeshit. For better or for worse, I'd say for worse in a lot of areas in terms of the quality of the film, I do understand when people say that if you're somebody who hated The Last Jedi for stereotypical reasons, this film is kind of everything you wanted Last Jedi to be fair. These are everything that you felt that if you felt that Rian Johnson slighted you in The Last Jedi because of all of the mystery that JJ set up, don't worry. I mean, he goes out of his way to answer every fucking question you had. Believe me, he
goes out of his way to go, yes, but no.
Yeah. And you might like that.
If I didn't need that. If you loved The Last Jedi, you'll hate this film. So, well, most if you did. And just go in with low expectations. I went in with, like, the lowest expectations, And I came out okay. I'm happy. Had a good time.
The sun will rise, life goes on, and you know what? We have the ones that we like, and you have the ones that you like. And I think the important thing is, I feel fairly optimistic in saying, because it has already happened. Star Wars movies and the perception of each trilogy continues to change. The prequels' perception has changed radically in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Mm-hmm. Just because it may seem like things were a disaster and people may bitch and moan about there being a roadmap or this trilogy being like a contest between two directors, like a tug of war. I have to keep in mind the kids who are the main audience of this movie, this generation watching this. And I can't imagine them being too angry with anything that happens in this movie.
I'll tell you this. I know kids won't be able to tell the tug of war between movies.
Yes.
Because the adults today who grew up with the prequels couldn't wrap their mind around the differences between the prequels and the originals. Right. And to me, they are the most vastly different films imaginable. But still, as kids, they just saw it as one.
Right.
So all the issues that a lot of adults today feel like different films. I guarantee you, kids are like, well, no, that's the second one, and then that's the one that
You know what pops up to mind? It's a scene from a bad movie, X-Men Apocalypse, when they walk out, and they walk out of Return of the Jedi, because it takes place in the 80s. And the first thing they say, it's not as good as Empire. I imagine kids maybe it's not as good as Last Jedi, and I'm sure kids love The Last Jedi. But also, they still will enjoy this movie.
I don't think many people, if any, came out of Empire going, it's not it. Came out of Return of the Jedi saying it's not as good as Empire. That's like a modern day kind of view of it. Kyle.
If I may, gentlemen.
Kyle didn't watch the film. He wanted to watch Cats, so go ahead.
Yeah, so what happens is that I think Judi Dench was awesome. I went to go see Star Wars with them. I have my gripes.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely with the movie.
Yeah.
But put your pitchforks down, gentlemen. I liked the film.
Good.
I liked the film. I was terrified of everything like that, but it's one thing reading it and seeing it, and I think that with seeing it, I got a better understanding of what it is. It is like, you know how they always complain about George Lucas and with the cast and all that stuff. You could write it, you just can't say it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I felt that a little bit reading the the plot of the film when you shared the leaks with me, and I was just as worried as you guys were. However, I wound up liking the film. I wound up liking the film. I think that this is, a lot of the stuff for me, I feel like even though they should have maybe focused on closing up the sequel trilogy, because I think the Return of the Jedi did wrap up what the prequels and the original trilogy was altogether. However, I think that they did one hell of an ambitious job trying to wrap up all three trilogies all in one movie, and I think that a lot of the things that did do, it's kind of like a greatest hits kind of thing with me. It's kind of like how I felt coming out of Spectre. Oh, here I go again, but it's a good example, because Spectre has the greatest hits of the 007 franchise and all that stuff, and this movie really came out showing the greatest hits of Star Wars kind of thing, and as the final go around, well, we'll see in a decade, the final go around for Star Wars. I think this even though the bow is a little bit messy, I do like the I guess the present that I was given. And I think that seeing the three together, seeing all these characters that I've fallen in love with since 2015. I was just thrilled to see them again, and I probably won't see them for a while. And I like that. Again, I definitely have my gripes with the film, but overall, I liked it.
I think there's going to be a lot of negatives. But let's get more positives out of the way, because I feel there's things that I want to say as well that I liked.
Let me say real quick. If I had kept radio silence about this film and not looked up anything and just came in and saw it, I would not be as positive as I am right now. I'd probably hate it. Like, hate it.
I would be kind of gutted.
I would be sitting here just like... Why?
Like what? Like BVS angry? Suicide Squad angry? Or worse?
Way worse. And again, I think that's what happened with a lot of reviewers. But because...
That was my theory. I feel that because we knew the plot details practically months in advance. Amazing they had the willpower to stay away from what was going to happen. But I feel that the critic... anger at this movie is because they were punched in the gut, as we would be if we didn't know what would happen in the movie.
Yeah.
So, but as far as the positives for me, and let's get to what I liked about the movie.
Okay.
I love these new characters. I love Finn and Poe and Rey, and I love that this film had a lot of them together. I loved 3PO. He was especially hilarious in this film.
3PO was great in this film.
Great with Anthony Daniels. BB-8 didn't really have a moment in this movie, but he was good still.
He was still there.
I was, even though you could tell, and this is an area of contention, I was actually surprised how good of a job they did with Leia, considering all of the stuff that happened. You can definitely tell that was shot around, and the blocking, and if you know what that means, you will know how it was. Yeah. But for what little she is in the movie, it wasn't a disaster. Yeah. It wasn't terrible.
Again, if you're a kid growing up with this film, you'll have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I was such a stupid kid. You
thought they hired another guy to play Anakin.
Yeah, when I would watch Return of the Jedi, and they had Hayden Christensen at the end, and I'm like, wow, the guy they got for the prequels looks just like him. Like, they did a really good job. Like, I was like, oh, you should... I had no idea about, like... Because I'm like, this is supposed to be the old films, right? They look just the same.
I didn't know about the... But, I mean, because I could tell, even though I knew it, I could tell that it was, like, reused Force Awakens footage because of...
It looks
facial expressions, her voice work, it's distinct. But her voice does sound different from Force Awakens: The Last Jedi, if you hear it closely.
You know that new technology where they put faces onto things?
Yeah.
What's it called?
Projection?
No, deep fake.
Oh, yes.
I think some of it was deep fake. Really? That's what it kind of looked like to me. Like they got like an other older lady and they kind of like put her face on top. I don't know if you've seen them. They're pretty realistic, and then maybe touch it up with more CG. But yeah, and then you could tell there were certain moments where like I could see that there was that in the Force Awakens. But again, if you're not looking for it, you won't see it. So
and she's barely in the movie anyway.
She's barely in the movie anyway.
I don't know if
Babu Frick.
Oh my God.
Been waiting forever. No one brought him up. Babu's the boy. All right. He's the guy. He's amazing. Dio, actually, they found another angle with that. I thought I was like, it's gonna be just exactly like what's his name?
BB-8.
BB-8.
But just played more cutesy.
Yeah, but they do something with like his voice, which is really funny. And I was like, oh, that's another cute angle for one of these things.
I'll say, and maybe I would have rather had more, less so than Jana. I really liked Zori Bliss.
Yes, she got that'll lead
more.
me into the negatives.
Should have had more in this movie.
But that's why. And we were talking about this before we went. Disney Plus, I'll get behind you. if you do more interesting shit.
Because these characters are worth it.
They introduced a bunch of characters into this film where it's like, I'd like to know a little bit more about them. Mm-hmm. But, like, they're there and they're gone. And I think, like, because the way this film ends, we already said there's going to be spoilers. Yeah. With Rey, I would have loved to see, like, an animated series following Rey after this film. And her, like, continued adventures as, like...
Are we on spoiler territory?
We've been.
The whole thing.
We've been on that.
I need to get this out of the way.
Yes.
Adam Driver is amazing.
Adam Driver is one of the greatest actors working today.
Go see Marriage Story. Go see Marriage Story, please.
He is incredible.
And what we mean by, watch Marriage Story, don't just watch the 2-minute clip. Watch the full movie.
Yeah, watch the whole movie. Not with your significant other.
After you break up with them.
After you break up. It'll make you feel better. They do something with him at the end of the film I hated, but I only hated it because of how much I liked Adam Driver and where he was at the end. That, why am I hiding it? When he becomes Ben Swallow again, and he's with, like, his long sleeve and his sweatpants, and it's like...
He just got out of bed.
the Ben Solo character, like, this is why I think Adam Driver is such an amazing actor. With just, like, he literally has 0 lines, but just, like, a few mannerisms and, like, looks, I'm like...
That's a different character.
Distinct.
I want him, like...
You want him.
I want him.
You want him.
I want him.
You want him.
Take that as you will.
I'm turning into Alexis Moreno.
Kylo Bay.
Kylo Bay. No, but, like, I really wanted him to stay alive because that character seemed so interesting and so fun. Like, when he dropped, like, when he jumped onto that giant chain, and he's just kind of like, ow. Like, and he just, like, looked down like, fuck. And then when they did the thing with the lightsaber, and he does that little, like, like, that little, like, nod. And I'm like, oh, my God.
I feel, I could probably, if I don't score movies anymore, but if I were to score it, I'd bump it up a whole number if he had remained alive.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I would pay $1 billion to get an animated show about, like, Rey and Kylo, like,
being on the Lars homestead.
No, not that, but, like, just
going
God,
off. What the fuck?
And doing their own thing and own adventures and...
Rey, I'm home.
That's gonna be the WandaVision show.
Yeah.
But, like, him, trying to seek redemption, if it's even possible. Their continued relationship.
Right.
Like, just imagining how he would interact with, like, Poe and that could be, like, but no, they killed him. Bring him back. It's all make-believe shit anyway. It's Star Wars.
Anyway.
No one's ever really gone.
Yeah. What'd you guys think of the hashtag Reylo moment? Like, the Reylo moment.
That caused the most stir in the audience. From some people who are like, yes, vindication. And other people who are like, come the fuck on.
Yeah, I heard both reactions.
Both reactions very loud.
I didn't hate
said
it.
What?
I didn't hate it. I thought I would hate it.
I said Reylo was endgame. I said that years ago. You bitches.
I didn't hate the moment, but I think that also made me feel just sad because I wanted to see more of that. Mm-hmm. I would have wished that would have continued.
Like, continued.
Yeah.
Fuck. Are we out of positives or?
What do you agree with us on Kylo Ren? Well, how do you feel Ben Solo?
I could watch Adam Driver all the way for a long fucking day.
Do you like that he died, or do you wish he would have lived on?
I wish he lived on.
Okay.
Because it's more like a self-serving kind of thing. Mm-hmm. The reason why I want him to live, and that way Reylo could live.
I mean, that's still a reason to want him to be alive. So
I wanted him to be alive from that, because, like, now that, and also, yeah, that would have been fucking cool seeing, like, look at here we have him interacting with Poe and all that stuff, and just like everybody in shock that, oh my god, it's Kylo Ren here, and that would have been a very interesting little take.
It's very anime.
Okay, I'll just say this, and I think we'll all agree on this.
Mm-hmm.
I hated the pacing in this movie.
Oh, are we to negatives?
Yeah.
This was a bad film.
But I want to get into actual...
Yeah, actual points.
Things of
but I
why
want to make clear, because I know I'm naming off a lot of positives.
Yeah.
But this was a bad film. Go ahead.
I was exhausted. I was exhausted those first, 20-some minutes. It was too much. It was too fast.
Way too much.
And we know that this was by design, because I think Terry and Abrams have said in those interviews that we wanted to do something that George said about always keeping the plot moving, which also is a big issue. When people say that this movie feels like a generic video game quest, cheap adventure, it very much is that, because there's several MacGuffins. This movie is convoluted. Needlessly convoluted, but I don't even recall what all of those MacGuffins were even supposed to do.
Yeah, okay, because they were looking for... I've read this fucking plot for months now, and I still am at a loss. Like, they were both looking for the Wayfinder.
Yes.
But then they found...
There are several of them, apparently.
There's two. But then they found the knife.
Yeah.
And the knife could lead them to the Wayfinder. But then they took the dagger. But then they don't need the dagger because it's in C-3PO. But then they still go back for the dagger because the dagger shows them the way. And
right.
To save Chewie, because they didn't have the balls to kill Chewie. And then she finds the Wayfinder in the Death Star, but he crushes it. So she steals his. I think that's it.
I think that's the definition of convoluted.
Needlessly convoluted.
Needlessly convoluted. MacGuffins are fine. You know, that's what these movies are about. But I feel it was just too much. And the pacing just made it feel so fragmented. There was a nice moment, I think 10 minutes in. There was a training session with Rey and Leia. That was about all there was, where it just sat for a little bit and then it just picks up and it keeps going and going and going.
This is like 5 movies in one. Like 5 movies.
Yeah, and I think what made it really bad was that it just kept going and going and going. And I was just like, I was like...
it's like, oh, no, I like this. Let me develop it. No, okay, we're running away.
I wasn't angry watching this, but I could tell, okay.
Flustered. You know what it's kind of like?
Yeah.
It's kind of like M. Night Shyamalan's Last Airbender.
Ooh.
Oof.
Ooh.
I would say it's more like Glass.
Did you see Glass?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. It's not good either. Oh.
Because...
Better though than The Last Airbender.
Yeah,
but The Last Airbender tried to condense one fucking season of Avatar The Last Airbender. And, and you feel that when you're watching The Last Airbender.
That's true. But I don't remember The Last Airbender feeling this choppy and this fast.
Because the movie, look, guys, this is what it is. The movie goes, and it doesn't stop. It doesn't fucking stop. Like, if you thought Infinity War was a film that just went and never stopped, this movie, I think, tops that.
Easily.
In the worst way possible.
The worst way possible. Nothing is developed.
Oh, sorry.
Nothing at all. They do some interesting stuff. It's like, oh, here's Poe's past. Here's, what's her name?
Zori Bliss?
Zori Bliss. Like, oh, that's interesting. Let's develop. What if we develop that? Oh,
but that was rushed as fuck.
I just met Zori Bliss. Now I'm saying bye to Zori Bliss.
Bye, Zori. Bye, Zori.
Here's Jana halfway through the movie. Oh, she was a former stormtrooper? Oh, they're all former stormtroopers? Holy shit, this is really cool to develop.
It's like you're saying, every chance it's beginning to develop something.
Boom. Honestly, this movie should have been 3 hours.
No, just take away plot. Like, I know they all sound cool, but as a storyteller, pick the ones that you feel are most important.
That work the best, you know?
And throw the rest away.
You can pull it back. That's just the reality.
Pull it back.
The whole quest thing, at times was fun, but overall, kind of dragged for me.
I was just waiting for them to get the Master Sword.
And it was completely needless.
Yes.
They were the ones who decided to have 50 MacGuffins, and then, like, through one MacGuffin quest, they find a story going on with Lando. Oh, but we gotta leave for the other MacGuffin. Oh, here's another story with Zorbris. Oh, we gotta leave. Here's another story with Janna.
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta leave. And it's like, pick two. Pick two of these stories, cut down on the quest, develop them.
Lando, just so you mentioned Lando, Lando is both a positive and a negative for me.
Yeah.
Here's why. Holy fuck, did Billy D just ease back into that role? Oh my god, he never, and we know he never stopped playing Lando.
Yeah.
But he was great. We could have had more of him.
He was useless in
the film. What the fuck, man? You bring back Billy D. Williams and you still do him dirty.
He was complete fan service.
Come on. He was fun. I loved having his presence. Is it fan service of me to have asked that they made an actual role for him?
This is a terrible script and a terrible, terrible story.
Well, I mean, the story in and of itself is just a carbon copy of what you already know. I mean...
the film is just a fetch quest to undo the last film. From a story perspective.
Which is my biggest issue with this movie.
Yeah.
Is at every turn, and the jury is out, I feel, if JJ did it or not. I know you feel like he didn't do it on purpose. But after watching this and after reading this, I feel the jury is out whether or not JJ, intentionally or not, went out of his way to really undo just about every single thing The Last Jedi did. And to me, and I'm sure to you, that was the most offensive thing about this movie. Because The Last Jedi, first of all, the opportunity that they left you at your feet was squandered entirely. Second of all, even, there's a point, and I felt like JJ was laughing at us when Rey throws Luke's lightsaber and Luke catches it. That may have worked in that moment, but in my mind I was thinking, I know how many fucking people were bitching that Luke tossed that lightsaber back in the beginning of The Last Jedi.
To be fair, I think that can work with just the fact that it's Luke obviously changed. That was him when he's shitty, and now he's better.
Yes,
and now he's it's kind of a knock at himself. I shouldn't have done that.
Yes.
The one that I'm really just oh, go fuck yourself.
Oh shit.
Was why don't we just pull a bunch of holdo maneuvers? Nah, that was 1 in a million. And it's
God.
You can tell they just heard 1,000 YouTube comments and Reddit posts about how that doesn't make sense.
Well, I
so
feel
they
the
felt
whole
the
movie
need
is that
to
way.
include it.
I
and it's
understand when people say that the movie feels like it's made by somebody who went on Reddit, got all of the things that people asked for, and made a movie about it.
And tried to please literally everyone.
Yes.
And when you try to make a movie to please everyone, you please no one.
I feel that rule is universal throughout, but especially among Star Wars fans. If you have it in your mind, are you going to make every Star Wars fan happy? You're wrong from the start.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the big thing, obviously, for me that I absolutely hate is she's a Palpatine.
That was the stupidest. I had to laugh every time they said Palpatine. Yeah. Every time they're like, we know you're a Palpatine. You're Rey Palpatine. And I would just laugh my ass off.
That was my biggest contention of the film.
It's so stupid.
That I hate.
It destroys Rey's character. And I get what they're trying to do with it. You don't have to choose. You choose your family or some sort.
Yes, I understand that.
I get. It's terrible. It's god awful.
The Last Jedi was beautiful in so many ways because it said you don't have to come from an important family to be important. And then this movie says fuck you to that. and they make her a fucking Palpatine to appease the people who call her Mary Sue.
And that's the thing. I feel like there's no reason for it other than people demanded answers for unnecessary things.
Right.
Like, why is she so powerful? 'Cause she's fucking awesome. Like, she grew up on she kicks ass because she grew up on her own her life.
Nobody ever asked Luke why is he so awesome.
No, because he's Luke. I just think, well, because to me, The Last Jedi isn't just like a fantastic Star Wars film, it's a fantastic film.
Yes.
And with this, it's just sort of like bumbling around for 2.5 hours, throwing as much shit as the wall, hoping that something sticks, and that there's just enough to get people to walk out of the theater happy. And I think when you do that, you make no one happy. Now, that being said, I worked out happy because I knew ahead of time, and I adjusted my expectations, and boom, I was prepared, and so I walk out like, oh, okay. And I think most general audiences don't give a shit about this kind of stuff. So I think most general audiences will walk out happy as well.
My biggest issues lie, I think, within the third act of the movie, and in so many ways because. It just looked too silly. It didn't look even for Star Wars. When you get to Emperor Palpatine is needless and useless to have been brought back. I didn't like Palpatine at all in this movie. I didn't like Ian McDiarmid. I hated the way he looked. I hated his role. I hated his purpose. He just, I felt, stinked up the whole movie.
There was no purpose to him being there. Other than changing, well, we have to bring him back. Really? You couldn't
do so much.
Your imagination couldn't think like, oh, maybe.
Well, that goes back to another. I mean, also ruining what Last Jedi gave you with what you could do with Kylo Ren. Obviously, from the very beginning,
there was a million awesome things you could have done with him, and they went the most boring route.
Here's the thing. I think JJ was stubborn because he was like, oh, I wanted this to happen in the other films, but I didn't get my way. So,
but he could have. He executive produced it. He could have gone in and been like, well, we're setting this up, and da-da-da-da. He could have had a talk with Kathleen Kennedy.
Well, a lot of reviews, a lot of critics, when they saw this movie, they were like you, Kyle, where it's like they got a kind of a little bit of an impression that perhaps, because a lot of the critics say that it felt like JJ ignored Episode 8 and made a sequel to His Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Does it feel that way?
100%.
Yeah.
Not only does it feel like he made a sequel to The Force Awakens, it feels like he remade Episode 8, 9, and then threw in 10 for good measure, just to make sure he got it down, and put it all in one film. And, God, like, I told you, like, to me, it feels like a worse version of Age of Ultron, where there's so much going on.
A film I like, by the way.
Yeah, I like Age of Ultron too. But I think it falters because there's so much going on, not a lot is developed, and it's there's a lot of stuff from the previous one. It's too full, and not much at all being developed.
It's overstuffed, right? Like
completely overstuffed. And when you add on top of that the story decisions that I absolutely hate, and then Star Wars has always had bad dialogue, cheesy dialogue, so to speak. Like, that's sort of the staple of Star Wars. But with this, the bad dialogue comes from the fact that it's nothing but exposition. It's the whole fucking film. Everyone's like, oh, they need to do this because of that, and da-da-da-da-da.
It's just all
that's
like
where the bad dialogue comes from. Yeah. There's, to me, Star Wars always had a very spiritual side, and all that is thrown out the window, I feel, with this film. This film was more interested with the flashbang adventure aspect,
right,
and only the flashbang adventure aspect.
There's no substance.
It's zero substance.
It has
to this
nothing
film.
to say.
Nothing at all. Even more so than The Force Awakens. This is a much worse film than that one. And of course, I think The Last Jedi is amazing. Yeah.
Okay, a couple of things I have to ask you, gentlemen. First of all, what do you think about the de-aging, I guess, of Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher?
That surprised me, in that I didn't hate it. And only because it lasted like nothing.
Yeah, it's also something that's like fan service.
Yeah.
I don't need this in the film. Yeah. But that's like 90% of the film.
Right. So it's like
I think they made Carrie look more like Billy Lord more than anything.
Billy Lord's amazing.
It was in the dark, so it's easier to mask that, I'd say. So
this is a big one.
Okay.
Hold on.
And this really doesn't.
Questions though. You wanted to ask.
Keep going.
Okay, Han Solo. What do you guys think of that scene?
I liked it. This is the thing. Either they were really shitty exposition lines and stuff that wasn't shitty exposition lines. It was just repeating lines from previous films, and they did that a lot with that scene with Han.
I think I read that was by design. It was
obviously it's all meant by design.
It was meant to mirror the Han death scene. Only this time the outcome is different.
That's everything that JJ does.
Yeah.
And then he said, "Dad," and he was about to say, "I love you," and he said, "I know."
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're being sarcastic.
Oh, okay. No.
No.
I don't remember him trying to say.
I didn't catch it, but now that you're saying it, maybe that's what.
Yeah, that was the final thing that he said. He was like,
another
Dad.
JJ thing.
Another JJ fucking thing.
He was like, "Dad," and he was like, "I know." He left.
Mark Hamill. Yeah, your name.
That was terrible,
wasn't it?
Mark Hamill gave a terrible performance.
He didn't give a shit,
in
did
this film. He did not give two shits.
Something was really off about that.
Carrie Fisher gave a better performance, and she's dead. Like
Wow.
Oh my god!
Well,
like
we're there, gentlemen.
Harrison Ford, he
was good.
Bailey Williams, but like Mark Hamill, holy.
Maybe it was the lines they gave him.
The lines were bad. But like he really, really tried with The Last Jedi. But with this one, also they gave him a weird looking wig. That was terrible. Wasn't it? It looked really off.
He looked off. Like he wasn't. To me, he just wasn't there for this film.
Like he was sleepwalking, right?
He was sleepwalking through it, and I don't know.
He was trying to put on a face. Like he must have not wanted to be there. It felt that way. I don't know.
I think he wanted to be like done after Last Jedi.
I'll say this: for as awkward as that was, one fan service moment that I actually didn't mind was him lifting up the X-wing.
Oh, I hated it.
I didn't mind it.
And of course they played the
Yoda
exact same music that played when Yoda lifted out of the water. Do you get it? Do you? Oh my god!
I mean, one of them is bound to work on me. That one I didn't mind, but
there's probably some other.
Did you mind that, or did you like that?
I liked it.
Of course he liked it.
I liked that moment.
Do you have other questions?
Okay. The ending.
Which
the very, very end of the film.
On Tatooine?
Yeah.
God awful. I hate it. I predicted that ending like a year ago because I was like, JJ's so fucking unoriginal. Of course he's gonna leave on Tatooine.
Can we get? I want to mention that right there.
Yeah.
Again, people are saying this film is aggressively safe. Bingo. The sad irony of it is, we know based on a lot of the interviews, this was JJ trying to be bold.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad? This is him trying to be bold. You can like the movie fine, but you can't call this movie bold.
It's not. It's not.
A lot of callbacks.
It was very safe. It's even safer than The Force Awakens. Can you beef it safer than The Force Awakens? I think you can. I don't know.
It's like Star Wars on cocaine. Like it just moves.
You're saying the Tatooine thing at the end.
Yeah, I hate it. There's no point to it. It's just... I get what they're trying to do, but it's like, again, JJ approaches this from the outside, like, as someone who loves Star Wars and not, like, trying to understand it from the characters within. Yeah. Tatooine may have significance to you,
right,
a viewer, But to these characters, Tatooine really doesn't mean anything. Leia never grew up there.
Yeah.
Luke was there, and every minute he spent there wanting to leave. And once he left, he never looked back.
Right.
Like, there's really no significance other than to the viewer.
Yeah. I agree with 100%. Yeah. But in a movie I already don't like, for many reasons.
Yeah.
That's like a drop in the bucket, really.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I already knew I didn't give a fuck about this film going in. So everything that I liked everything was just a plus.
Yes.
Everything that was a negative, I already knew that. So it's like...
So I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it either.
I didn't hate it as I was watching it. Thought it was sweet, actually, in terms of seeing the ghosts of Luke and Leia there. I mean, I guess it's okay.
I would have thought it was funny of, like, you know, the lady who's like, who are you? Like, what are you doing here? She's like, you shouldn't have seen me. So then she kills her. For secrecy. She knows where the lightsabers are.
But, you know, it's almost like if you think about that last moment, you are right. It's more of something that means for Star Wars in general than for the characters. It's, in a weird way, it's kind of the same thing that Ryan did and how he ended his in The Last Jedi. Ryan ended that film in the context of how we all view Star Wars and how the Force can be in ourselves. And I feel JJ did the same thing, but of course it doesn't work with the characters.
I don't think it works with the character. I think when he does it, he just does fan service, and Ryan does, like, character stuff. Yeah, JJ fan service has never worked well for me.
What do you think about her renaming herself Rey Skywalker?
Again, it goes with this film and the plot points that they have with this film. It makes sense,
but not I don't. The Last Jedi Rey.
Oh, absolutely not.
No, it does. It does not work together at all.
At all. But I also don't care. So.
Having but I mean, it's like, again, if you look at every term, there are things that if it feels like it has to go out of its way to negate the last movie when Luke says, "I knew," and Leia knew. You were a Palpatine. The fuck you didn't. Come on.
None of you fucking knew. At the end when they gave Chewie a medal,
that was the worst.
Oh my god.
That was the worst because, again,
you get it. You get it because he didn't get a medal the first time.
Like,
now
this is shit that only if you're like a Star Wars nut on the internet, where it's like, did you know that Chewbacca didn't get a medal in the original 1970?
He did.
I know in canon.
Yeah, he did, but not in the movie. And I think that was so bad, it didn't work for the audience.
No, I don't think no one gave a shit.
I think nobody gave a shit. I think what would have been hilarious is if Maz kissed Chewie.
Yeah.
That would have been so much better.
They should have. That's all I'm saying.
I still like Oscar Isaac.
Interspecial.
Yeah. I really loved Poe in this movie, even though he has kind of nothing to do, really. The same thing with Finn.
No one has anything to do except go and fetch quests. I guess Finn is Force sensitive.
That was weird, wasn't it?
Again,
what did that mean?
I think that's what it is, and it's
he's
like
Force sensitive now.
Yeah,
because otherwise, how would he know that Rey?
And knowing John Boyega, he probably lobbied for that shit. And it's like, this honestly feels like, again, where the characters are now, I will watch an animated series from here. But it's, because, like, that could be fun. But as the film, it's like, what's the point of this? This adds nothing. I guess he's Force sensitive now? Okay. Again, it just feels like, I don't know. It's not a good film, but I had fun with it.
I feel that's about the most positive we could have come out of this experience. Look.
Yeah, we came out as positive, I think, as humanly possible.
We tried. And you know what? For a long part of the movie, we kept whispering, you know what? I don't hate it yet.
I said that a lot, and I'm like, this pace is giving me fucking whiplash, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it yet.
It did. And we thought Rogue One was a little bad in the beginning. Oh my god.
But this is the whole fucking film. And don't get me wrong, I do get to points where I'm like, I hate this. But I also knew I was going to hate it. So I braced, I took it.
Of course the Death Star cannons blow up planets. Of course we
have to have another planet-destroying ship.
Like, some of the shots felt like very much like, remember when they were bringing it down the what's it called, the Star Destroyers, and it was like plunging into the planets. Like, I was like, oh my god, that's ripping off from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Of course they show Cloud City.
Yeah.
Of course they show Endor. And it's like Jakku, like
that one was just blatantly really just out of episode 6.
It was out of Independence Day. What the fuck?
Oh
are you
shit,
talking
you're right.
about?
Yeah, that's right.
Like, oh my god.
We gotta go. We got 5 minutes left.
This is the most important thing. Fuck, man, I can't believe Knights of Ren.
The Knights of Ren. Oh, they were in this movie. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Nothing with the Knights of Ren. They stood around and then they died at the end. But I thought it was so funny because Ryan didn't include them in the throne room with Snoke, because he's like, well, they're important, you know. There's obviously a connection between him and them. So I won't use them. I'll use the guards so they can use them for the next film. Mm-hmm. You should have just used them, right?
I do love the Praetorian Guards, though.
I love them too, yeah. But it's like
the star I love the color scheming of The Last Jedi when it came to the color red. I loved it.
But I think it's so funny because JJ created the Knights of Ren. And I remember people were like, JJ must be pissed that he pushed aside the Knights of Ren. He didn't even use them, da-da-da-da-da.
It meant nothing.
He did not give a shit about them at all.
And I thought, you would have thought that, after The Force Awakens, that they would have been like...
They would have been something he would use, but no.
Yeah. There was no story. We gotta close it up.
Okay. Terrible film. I enjoyed watching it.
It's not a good movie. I have a lot of issues. It is fundamentally flawed, and I think ultimately a disappointment. But I had fun. Good Star Wars experience. I'm very fascinated to see how this film ages, but we'll have more to say on more podcasts.
Ditto. What I said in the beginning, that's my thoughts.
Who wants to clap us out?
Nah, bruh.